Hi, I'm Nick from Acting Coach Scotland, and I wanted to do a really short video to help you with something that's happening more and more frequently now, and that is auditions via Zoom or video conferencing. And I want to give you some top tips on how to set up for that audition or drama school audition. So here goes. First thing you need to do is think about testing the equipment. Okay, I know that sounds ridiculous, but you think, oh, well, it worked yesterday and it worked the day before. Test it in good time, okay? But also test it where you're going to actually be placed for the audition, because many a time I've had auditionees test their equipment somewhere else in the house and then move to a different position, and then only to find out that they can't get a very good Wi-Fi signal. So being near the router is really important, I think, to avoid that problem. If you want to do it somewhere that's further away from the router, then consider getting a Wi-Fi booster. They're not very expensive. Speaking of technology, it's better, I think, to use a computer or a laptop or an iPad rather than a phone. Quite a few auditions and mock auditions that I've set for students and applicants, when they've used a phone, sometimes the orientation goes a bit funny. Sometimes they've forgotten to switch it to airplane mode and there's interruptions. Phones are amazing computers in themselves, but they're not as safe a bet as using a laptop or a desktop with a camera in it, or indeed an iPad. So also think about noise. What's the noise going to be like in that environment at the point at which the audition is timed for, right? Because if that happens to be the time when the family get home, then you've got to think about where you're going to be, because the last thing you want is a background noise disturbing you. Important thing is lighting, I think. I mean, obviously they're not auditioning your technical skills, but the more you can do to make yourself look and sound better, the better you're going to come across. So lighting wise, if the time of day allows it, it's always better to use natural light. Therefore, you should face a window so that the light's coming onto your face, okay? Obviously, that can't always be the case if it's going to be in the evening or at a time when it's dark outside, or you can't find a room with a window with good sunlight. In which case, if you've got to use electric light, then I'd really consider buying what's called a ring light. Really simple, cheap LED device, looks like a ring, hence the name. You can buy them on Amazon relatively cheaply. Often they're USB, which means you can plug them into your laptop, or you can plug them into a socket, obviously. And a ring light usually does a great job of lighting your face. If you haven't got a ring light, or you don't want to buy one, then the other thing you could do is take a couple of lamps, bedside lamps, stand lamps, whatever you like, put them either side of you and in front of you, so that there's light hitting both sides of your face. What you want to avoid is shadow on your face, on one side of your face, okay? The other thing you want to avoid is strong source of light behind you, because it creates a halo effect. The camera doesn't know how to deal with it, and your face ends up in shadow. So that is just a no-no, to have a strong light behind you. Sometimes a soft light above you can just give a nice backlight glow, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. Definitely have a plain background behind you. Otherwise it may be distracting, and I'd certainly avoid the functionality of using the fun backgrounds, as fun as they are. Nobody needs to imagine you on a beach or in the middle of a Star Trek movie. They want to just concentrate on you, okay? So plain background. Check your framing. I think the best, well, you've really got two strong options. You can either go for a medium, which is sort of waist up, or you could go head and shoulders. Me personally, I prefer head and shoulders, because I can see your face, I can see your facial expressions much more effectively, and it just tends to be more impactful. But either would be fine. You want to avoid being too far away from the camera, not only because you're not as visible, but it also can lead you to have audio problems. So speaking about positioning with the camera, and I see this all the time and it looks terrible, if your camera is lower than you, which is typical scenario. People sit on a chair, they pop the laptop in front of them, the laptop is much lower than they are, and they're staring down into the camera. And that's really disconcerting for the other person looking at you, because you're just peering down at them, and you don't want that. So use some books, put your laptop or your iPad higher up so it's level with your eye line, or more or less level. Don't look down at the camera. Sound's really important. Some argue sound's more important than the video itself. Do test your speakers and your microphone. With Zoom, there is a function to do it, and it will walk you through it. You could even consider getting a separate mic, depending on what technology setup you've got. At home, I've got a really cheap clip-on lavalier mic, which just plugs into the microphone in port, and you can just route it up and clip it on, and that would be absolutely fine. It'll give you really good audio, but not everybody needs that. There is a function on some software like Zoom to touch up your appearance. You can press that and it will just smooth out your skin tone a little bit. It's really up to you. Some people feel happier doing that. Other people think it's not necessary. But it might be an option that you want to consider. Try it and see if you like the look of it. The last thing to think about, I suppose, is whether you want to look at yourself or not. If you find that disconcerting when you're in the middle of the audition, then hide SelfView. I think you click on your name, hide SelfView, and then you can go to gallery view, and that avoids you having to see yourself, because that can put you off, I think. And lastly, I mean, those are all technical issues, but obviously remember, be confident, be your best self. If you've tested your equipment, if you've done a dummy run, if you can be well lit and well heard, then you're not going to have any problems. Okay, so good luck with that, and I hope it goes well. Thank you.